If you're a parent, then one of the most important thing for you is that what's your connection with your child, what kind of parent you are, and how are you really raising them. Hi everyone, I'm Shruti Chaudhary, a personality and mindset coach, founder of Charismatic You and TEDx speaker, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you all how to raise confident kids. Now, I just turned a 12-year-old mom this month, and I want you to say that this is absolutely out of the request from my community members to share with them that what did I do in the last few years to be able to raise my kids, and what are some of the strategies which I have been following as I'm a working mom and also taking care of my kids in a nuclear setup. Now, before I give you the 12 principles, the 12 strategies which I personally follow, I want to make it very clear that I'm not a parenting coach. All of what I'm going to be sharing today is something which I also have learned while being on the journey of the parent, and all of it is absolutely from my experience of raising my two boys who are 10 and 12-year-old. So let's begin with the 12 strategies which I personally follow. The number one, which I realized at the very beginning, was that I'm a human first and a mom later. Many of us have this habit of taking the pressure that we need to know everything, we need to be the best mother or father we can be, without even knowing that the role of a parent is something which we also have acquired or probably are understanding as we have become the parent. So there's a joke which I usually have shared with my kids. There's been time they've been asking me questions which I didn't have answer to. I still remember the first time it happened was when my elder one was 8 years and I was saying, Mama, you need to tell me why you're saying what you're saying. And I just said, you know what? At this point in time, I don't know, because I'm just 8-year-old mom, and as you are growing, I'm also growing as in a role of being a mother. Now, this truly helps us to take that pressure off, because one of the things which I've seen is parents taking this a lot of on themselves, that they need to know it all and they need to do it perfectly, which is such an injustice to our own self. So remember, you're a human first and a parent later. Now, the second principle which I follow is that our kids are human first and our kids later. Many of the time, knowingly or unknowingly, we forget that they have an identity of their own, they have a mind of their own, they have a desire of their own, they have a heart of their own, they have a brain of their own. And just because we want them perfect, just because we want them to do certain things in a certain way, of course, with the intention of bringing the best out of them, we tend to start imposing our own identity, our own personality onto them, forgetting the fact that they are themselves are a human being who have a heart and a mind of their own. And when we start, it's a very subtle line, and it does make a lot of difference when you're interacting with your child by treating them as your child, as your son, as your daughter, or when you're interacting with them and you're treating them as another human being who has another thought process, another mindset, and probably can have a different view from what you have. Now, this is the place when we need to draw a line. We need to create a beautiful boundary wherein we also understand that there are two human beings interacting, instead of always saying that we are the parent and they're the child and they need to hear what we need to say. Personally, one of the things which I've learned big time is that more than we teaching them, there's so much that we need to learn from them. They are the best teachers if we actually start looking with a different lens towards them. So principle number 2, they're human first and our kids later. Now, the third thing, which is a very powerful one, which I realized, I think when they were 5 or 6, that to letting them know the concept, and I keep saying this again and again, even till date, that do not allow anyone around you to make you feel small about yourself, be it your teacher, be it your friends, or be it your own parents. Nobody around you can say things to you and or can do things to you if you feel lesser about your own self. And honestly, I really want to say this and want all of parents to consider sometimes we need to protect our kids from our own self. Yes. Sometimes we need to protect our kids from our own mess in the head, for our own mess in the emotions, and who we become to them. Because kids are very forgiving. They forget what their parents do to them, but for some deeper way, it stays with them. It stays in their construction of self concept and their self esteem. And we as parents play such a huge role in either building it or breaking it. So be very mindful of the fact that are you the person who's actually making them feel small about their own self, just under the carpet of saying, you know what, the reason I'm doing this to them is to uplift them, to make them aware of their own self so that they can do better. Well, there's so many ways to do that, but not at the cost of making them feel less about their own self by saying you're not like this, you're like that, you're like that. So train your kids, teach them that no matter what happens, do not allow anyone around you to make them feel small about themselves, even if it is their teachers or their friends or their loved ones. Now, the fourth one is hitting. Well, I always say hitting is like physical hitting is like hammering their self-esteem, hammering their self-confidence. And I want you to be aware of, I'm someone who made this promise to my kids few years back that never ever in my life I'm going to be ever touching you. Never. I need to learn how to handle my emotions. If I do not like anyone hitting me, I better not do that to you as well, because we're following the same principle that they're human beings first and our kids later. And the fact is, being a personality coach today, what I've realized is while working with adults, many of the beliefs about themselves, about the value system, of the attitude what people are carrying at this point in time is an outcome of the kind of parenting they went through. For the reason, of course, parents had the right intention, they wanted to make things work out for the kids, but unknowingly they've done the damage, which is so which even till date an adult is trying to turn it around. So please remember that every single time you hit your child, you're actually not hitting them physically, you're literally taking a hammer and putting it on their self-esteem and taking it down, 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 which probably the child has to work for years to come to bring it back, to build it back. There are different ways to empower the child. By making them feel small is not the way for sure. So if you are someone who does not know how to handle your own emotion, and hitting is something you find it as an easier thing to do, watch yourself, see yourself, that how do you as a parent need to grow to be able to deal with your child. Rather, I say to be able to deal with your own emotions, to be able to manage your kids better, because there are so many different ways to make it happen. Now the next one is, instead of, many of the times we feel like we need to teach them, we need to tell them what they need to do, whereas the true fact is they learn from what you are doing in the world. Every single time my kids have gone a little off in their behavior, something they're doing little hutke, which I probably say, why are they doing this? Instead of pointing out to them that why are you doing it, I started watching myself. What am I doing in my life that my kids have started to catch that in their behavior and have started to imitate, in their life as well. And this is such a beautiful way for us as a family to grow together. The other aspect to it is, instead of telling them what they need to do, you start doing it in your life and see how beautifully they start to, internalize for themselves. Being a working mom, I personally feel that, of course, if I have to be a non-working and being working, the amount of time which I have to give to them is lesser, but what I still feel is the kind of environment that has been built for them, which is an environment of ethics towards the work, the environment of discipline, the environment of grit, the environment of determination towards my work. They've started to internalize all these value systems for themselves and have started to show it in different areas of their life, of course, in the places wherein they have the interest for. So the best way to teach kids is not by talking, by giving them the gyan, but doing it yourself. The other way also is which is such a beautiful thing, which I have realized for myself, is that anytime I am going through certain things in my life, certain failures which probably I have overcome, certain fears, certain self doubts, I share them, share with them that how was I feeling it earlier and how I'm coming across it right now. So my own personal experience of going through, of the human I am truly helps them to see the different aspects of it, and I think that's how they can connect better and they learn better. So that's the fifth one. The sixth one is a very important one, which is stop labeling them. People have this casual habit of saying, hey, you are so lazy, hey, you are so dumb, hey, you always do like this. And there's this, and honestly, I have with this conversation with some of my friends as well, and I'm just said, you know what, we truly understood we should not be doing this, and it just took them an hour to forget it, and they started doing it again, because it's so easy for us to just have that casual raw talk with our kids, not knowing that there's a concept called a self-fulfilling prophecy. Every single time you're labeling your child, your child is building a concept about himself and or herself, that that's who they are. So even though you don't want them to become that, but continue saying the same words to them again and again, you're lazy, you're dumb, you can't do it, you're not disciplined, you're actually further increasing that ability, increasing that value system of theirs. So please stop labeling them with negative words. In case you want to label them, please start saying positive words. Start using something positive about them, where then they start internalizing, like, for themselves. Like, there's so many times I keep telling my kids that, how do you manage to be so intelligent? Sometimes I play some games wherein I take my head next to their head and say, can you pass some intelligence to me as well? Because if I can be even 10% of how much intelligent you are, I will grow massively in my business. And you have to see the pride in their eyes, the pride in their face. And imagine if a child has that kind of a value, that kind of identity, how much they will have a confidence in their own self when they go into the places where they truly need to shine. So instead of putting them down, help them to build a pride, help them to build a value system which would help them, in the areas when things are not working in their favor. Like, there's another instance this year. For the first time, my son was writing an exam. So in the morning when I was leaving for an exam, I was telling, you know what, Arya, his name is Arya, Arya, बहुत tension हो रहा है. He's like, what? I said, yeah, I'm really tensed. You know what, I'm just thinking, what if you get a 51 out of 50? And he was like, oh, mom. So, you know what? It's a simple way of me telling them that I'm so proud of you. I know you're all there. I know you will do your best. And so I'm all there with you. And this kinds of help them to build a confidence, which I personally believe nothing else would. Now, the seventh one is never withdraw your love. Never withdraw your love. Just because kids are not doing the things the way you want them to do it, doesn't mean that you should be withdrawing the love and start disrespecting them or showing them that you don't like them, and doing all that drama, because our love is so important for them. I feel it's like literally, the love from the parents is like the water to their life. So no matter what, I know, I personally feel unconditional love is a fantasy. As much as people would say that, I love my child unconditionally, you need to watch yourself when they don't listen to you. You need to watch yourself when they don't do things in the way you want them to do. I personally don't believe there's anything called as unconditional love. But what I truly feel is that even though things do not work in our favor, never ever we should withdraw love from them or show it to them in any way that we don't love them enough because they're not doing this. We might, we need to stay in charge of our own emotions when things do not go our way. Now, the next one is, which is the eighth one, stop punishing kids because they're not able to manage their emotions. For the simple fact that you as an adult is also not able to do that. You need to really watch yourself, who you are when your emotions, when you're angry, when you're upset, when you're disappointed. How do you behave? So there are times going to be in the life of kids wherein they are going to be upset, they are going to be angry, they are going to be not knowing how to be able to deal with their emotions. And at that point, I'm telling them, don't do this, this is bad, la 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 la. I think we're actually asking them to gulp their emotions, but then which way they do not know how to manage it. Again, the same concept: human first, kids later. We go through this emotional chaos even till date. How can we expect a child to know how to manage it, how to deal with it? So here's the thing: what we need to do. The moment they get angry, instead of saying, "Don't get angry, this is not the right way to do it," how about we trying to understand? I do feel that at this point in time, you are angry. Let's see how can we process. Let's see how can I help you. Let's see how can I help you to feel little lesser frustrated, little lesser upset. I'm right here for you. I think this is such a beautiful way of not letting your kids to kind of push their negative emotions down, rather letting them how to process them, and not saying that these are negative emotions, you should not be doing this way, you should not be expressing this. Then all these emotions are going to be getting stuck. I would say it's okay for them to express these emotions. It's just that we need to help them to channelize how to process them and how to come out of them, because that's one thing wherein all we as adults are also struggling big time. Now, the next one is going to be the ninth, which is instead of focusing on the task, focus on the values. This is extremely important, help me big time. So any time in around me, if my child does a task, let's assume that he finishes his homework, instead of me saying, "Wow, I just love the way you finish your homework," I focus on the value system. So if I have to say the value system, I'm so proud of it, how responsible you are. So responsible value is something which I want them to internalize. Or if there's someone who's being, going on time to sleep, or probably, waking up in the morning on their own, I would say it's really nice to see how disciplined you are. It's really nice to see how amazingly you've been able to handle things on your own. So here's the thing: every single time to do a task which you want to appreciate, make it around a value, because when you're making it around a value system, they're going to be taking that discipline, responsible, intelligent, empathy, love. They're going to be taking all this value system into other tasks of their life as well, into other areas of their life as well. So when you appreciate a task, talk about the value system, so that kinds of attached to the identity and takes them, they can carry it to the different areas of their life as well. Now the next one is which is the 10th one: allow them to take responsibility of their success and also of their failures. The faster they fail, the faster they learn. Especially in the early years, there's nothing which is going to be making or breaking their life, but we as parents are protecting them, because of which there's a day which comes wherein they don't know how to make even small decisions. I'm going to be giving an example of my younger one. Having an elder one at home, most of the decisions were made by him. What do we need to eat? Where do we need to go? What movies we need to watch? And suddenly I realized that for anything or everything, my younger one used to say, whatever he says, we'll do it. Whatever he says, we'll do it. And that's exactly when I realized that the younger one doesn't want to take any decisions. And suddenly, the moment I said, no, today you're going to be the one who's going to be deciding. These are small things, but at least helping them to take decisions and making them responsible for what they want. And then, of course, whether they like it or don't like it, it's also a responsibility which they carry. The 11th one is set consequences. When you give them the task and they don't do it, set a consequence. It has to be a mutual way in which we are setting the consequence, wherein they also have to align to it. And the last one is, please stay away from be careful parenting. Hey, don't do this. Hey, what if this happened? Hey, what? You're unnecessarily forcing all your fears and your doubts onto them, and again creating another, caged personality. So these are some of the principles I follow. If you are someone who really found them useful, do share with me in the comments which was your favorite, and do share what are the things you do to manage your kids and raise confident kids at home. Thank you so much for watching this. Looking forward to see your comments under the video.